Welcome to the Limitless Brave Show. I'm your host, Dave Stoltz, and I don't know anything about podcasting. But I'm going to take you on a journey because this is a new side project from my coaching company, Limitless Brave, where I've focused the past 15 years on coaching men to help them become more masculine, more well-rounded, more emotionally intelligent, and kicking ass in the world. So, like I said, I don't know anything about podcasting, and this is a very basic setup. So I'm learning, and I've already made a lot of mistakes, and that's okay. Anytime we make mistakes, we should learn from them and grow and get better. And so that is my point here with this show is I hope to see it evolve into something amazing. And with your support, it definitely can. But I also want to encourage you guys, if there's something that you want to do, you want to explore, go and try it out and know that you're probably going to fail. But if you continually get back up and keep going for it, you won't. And so this leads me to my very first guest. He is a retired Navy SEAL. He has a heart-wrenching story. And he is the very first Black Navy SEAL to graduate BUDS as Honor Man and SQT as Honor Man. His story is phenomenal, and let's get into it. I want you guys to welcome Jovon P Quarles to the show. He is a Navy SEAL, retired Navy SEAL, 22 years of service, 7 deployments. He is the founder of Elite SEAL Fit. He is also the host of Fox's Special Forces World's Toughest Test. You guys have probably seen that on Fox. And he has been on countless talk shows, and he is soon to be an author to share his story in writing. Q, brother, what is up?
Man, that was awesome right there, man. You just hyped me up. I feel all like I'm ready to go out and play some football now. Put the combat gear on and do some shooting, put some moving and all that stuff, man. I'm ready to go to the range.
Awesome. I love it. So, brother, thank you so much for coming on to the show. I was thinking about who I wanted as my first guest. It had to be somebody incredible. You have an incredible story. We met in very unique circumstances down in Miami, over dinner, breaking bread together, just sharing like deep emotional stuff with each other about your life, my life. And we both found out that we grew up in Maryland, DC area together.
Yeah, honestly, man, when I think about it, that was really like a good year ago, I want to say.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit more, slightly over or whatever, but the way we all came together, it was a nucleus of men. I was really getting involved into the entertainment industry, met up with some guys out in Miami, and then we all just kind of like merged together. A group of alpha mentality. We had another SEAL there. We had Marine Recon. We had successful entrepreneurs like you. Another gentleman that was there who right now I think is currently traveling, not the country of America, but just all over the world.
Yeah.
And like a few more. So conversations would range, you know what I mean? We went from, talking real world things over, a glass of, drink.
Yeah.
A glass of something. But, the conversations were deep, they were heavy, they were real life, they were real world. And it was nothing that was no one was offensive, just strong men coming together, having a real conversation about real world things. And honestly, how we could all benefit each other, right? Together and do something together as a group and make something different, you know what I mean? So it was a really good group of guys that it just shows, man, when you put the right people together, alpha type of mentalities together, we can all mesh and come together and think of some things that we can also benefit, not us, just the world as well. Because that's what I think we was all conversating about down in Miami, Florida.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that was a table of go-getters and like you said, alpha guys, man, like forced to be reckoned with for sure.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, man. Well, cool. Yeah, I remember that dinner. It was fantastic. And everyone there was just incredible. I know you and we connected and we shared some deep stuff with each other and got vulnerable with each other, really made that super nice, like masculine connection and built that trust with each other. And I loved it. It was incredible. So man, yeah. I want to, what's that?
No, I was about to say, yeah, we learned that we're from the same neighborhood, basically.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. Unbelievable. So I kind of want to get into, we grew up in the DC, Maryland area together, and we were talking about that over dinner. What was your life growing up? What was it like? Like, take us on this journey from, growing up as a young boy all the way into current life.
Yeah, long story. Definitely a lot of ups and downs coming out of the DC area back then. To give people an idea of the time frame, I was born in 1980 at Providence Hospital in Washington, DC, and that's where I spent the majority of my childhood. So in that time frame of DC area, the Northeast area, where everyone understood, DC was a very violent place at the time. It was one of America's murder. It is known as the murder capital of the country. Off and on during that time frame from the 80s into the 90s. It was that bad. And of course, it's the place where, all of America's leaders are supposed to be congregating at, right? From the White House to the Congress to the Capitol to everything. And in that area surrounding that, that's where, a lot of violence was known to be at that time. But DC has a lot of history, as you already know. A lot of history.
Yep.
From all the museums, from the monument, the Lincoln Memorial.
Yeah, Library of Congress.
Library of Congress, that's huge.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. There's just so much history there. It's incredible. And have you gone to check out the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence? Have you seen that in person?
Oh yeah. When I grew up there, I seen it all. I've been to every one of those type of museums out there. I mean, I'm a big museum person. I think that's probably why I'm in it. I like scenic stuff. I like to look at historic things. So I think DC is one reason why I have that in my blood, right? So I'm always like, I want to see a historic place, be in that area. So I've been there. I've done it all. I mean, even some of the new stuff from the Black History Historic African American Museum.
Yeah.
To the Martin Luther King stuff that they got statues outside now. I mean, I've seen a lot of the new stuff out there. So it's a lot of good things in DC, man. So I always employ people. If you've never been to DC, you should go to DC. It's the nation's capital. Go there and just walk the strips down. It's safe. Just safe for you to go there.
It definitely is. It's changed a lot, Man, I remember when I was a kid, we would go to the museums on field trips, and I mean, it was dangerous. Everybody was worried about muggings, shootings, stabbings. Like, it was bad back in those days.
100%, man. And I love the city now. I love to go in and take a look. And every time I go on, to be honest with you, I always go downtown just to walk it again, whether I'm going into Chinatown or wherever.
Right.
I loved all of it, man. I mean, it's just that cool. The Smithsonian's, I'm still a big fan of Smithsonian's. I always walk that strip where they all run side by side, you know what I mean? So I enjoy it, man. But that's where I'm from, the northeast side of DC area. I was primarily raised in the memory of that time frame is so much sporadic a lot for me. I don't remember much of a good time with my mom anyway. That's the number one thing I could talk about for sure. But I was raised by my grandparents in Washington, D.C. area. Right? My grandmother had, 9 kids. My grandparents had 9 kids. So my mom had, another 8 siblings or whatever. And, during that time, growing up on the Northeast side, my family was very known in the block that I lived on. Grew up on Nicholson Street, right? Nicholson Street, which is right up the street from where I used to walk to school sometimes. But that whole street, some of the drug heads there, my family was so big, so we were kind of known in the family, at least me anyway. Nobody messed with me basically physically because I knew how big my family was. And I remember, man, growing up and seeing this across the street, there was this drug house where everyone always knew about it, right? It was always there. Every now and again, it got raided. I even won't go in there, just because I was that normal friends with, some of the adults over there, right? And my mom will be there, my uncle will be over there hanging out with some of the people there. So it was one of those things that was very knowledgeable and know what this house was.
Okay.
Directly from the street from me. And I used to watch that thing get raided sometimes. People get taken out of there. And I grew up in a house across the street with my grandparents. So that's two, my grandfather and grandmother.
Okay, cool.
A family friend. My uncle was down in the basement, me, and my mom in and out of prison. So whenever she was in that,
wow, seven people living in the house.
7 people living in the house.
Wow,
I was the only kid.
Wow.
So that was the thing, my grandparents, they did the best they could, man. I always give respect and love to my grandmother and grandfather because they really were did their best. I mean, back in that time too, it was hard to be a Black person working in the DC area as in those major, because everything in DC, as was all corporate, government jobs.
Yeah, totally.
So my grandfather, he was working for the Department of Transportation. You know what I mean? He was able to get in there as a driver. I forgot what kind of driver he was. I think he just pick up the, top people from the airport and take them where they needed to go. Congress people,
okay,
president or whatever, and, pick them up and take them where they needed to go. Celebrities and stuff. And so he would sometimes bring the vehicle back to the house, which would be like some long limousine that he used to drive for this. And but like everything, back then, even my grandparents were big into alcohol, right?
Oh, wow, okay.
Oh, yeah, love my grandfather more than anything. But it was one of those things that alcohol was his, I guess you would say,
like his vice? His addiction?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it caused him to go blind.
Really?
He was was so much into that. Back in the 90s, that's what men did.
Yeah.
Drinkers. It wasn't into drugs, it was alcohol. And his thing was alcohol for sure. And he had a stroke, and it after having so many times drinking, and of course docs telling you not to stop drinking or whatever, but that stroke and he went blind. But he was always the man. His nickname was the Bear. It's a big dude.
The Bear. I love it.
Even when he was drunk, man, he'd still be ready to fight. Drunk and blind, still sitting in his wheelchair, who wants something?
So let me ask you a question about on your neighborhood or in the blocks surrounding. Was there a lot of violence there, or was it mainly just kind of drugs being bought and sold?
I wouldn't say it's more drugs. I mean, you had some gunshots here and there for sure. I witnessed myself even on the school grounds one time. It was the craziest thing because, the school was right there. So you generally did with the back then, you would play outside until the street lights came on, or at the school lights were still on until they went off or whatever. And so we was out there playing basketball young, and there was a group of brothers up on the school steps on the outside anyway that was gambling or whatever. And a black van full of, undercover cops or whoever, because we never understood who they really were. You couldn't really tell. But they jumped out and chased these guys off, but they stomped the crap out of one guy who was just trying to act like he wasn't doing, I guess, bad or whatever. But I think they were cops for sure. And they beat the crap out of this man. So it was some violence there, and it was aggression on both sides, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Because it was a violent time.
Yeah, it was, man. It really was. It was crazy. That was when Marion Barry was in office, right?
I want to say, I can't recall, because I was not really much into politics back then, but it could possibly be, especially in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s.
I think it was, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that one, but my family, because we didn't, when I think about it, I mean, my grandfather, he was big into the news, but I can't remember. He used to sit there and watch the news channel all the time until he went blind, but he still liked to hear it and listen to it.
Yeah.
But then that's how I got into the Redskins back then, right? Watching it with him.
Oh, nice. Nice.
But, man, it was a tough time, man. I mean, I remember it used to always being taken or going over to my neighbor house because there was some kind of violence going on in the home. Meaning my mom was doing something crazy.
In your home?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, I used to be at my neighbor's house watching the cops go in and drag her out, drag my aunt out, or break something up because something's going on, some type of domestic violence going on out. So I used to watch that from my neighbor's porch or from the window, and the neighbors all out inside the house at night. I mean, this is at nighttime, so this would be late night, and you'll see the neighbors all outside watching, police lights flashing at night. So I really grew up watching this stuff happen, and it was like people. I mean, I'm telling you, people knew my home. The law enforcement knew the house because of what was going on with my mom and all that stuff. And she just, she'd do her thing, and her and my aunt, because they were also big, heavy into drugs at the time. And I want to say at some point when I talked to my family, they would tell me a lot of times back then, all of my grandmother's kids were into something, alcohol or drugs or whatever.
Okay.
But they all figures and ways out of that, right? They all learn to tailor off and move and grow and get better.
Nice.
But my mom and my aunt was always the final two. It was just always still in that life. And if they wasn't sharing whatever the drug was, or getting high or whatever it was, or drinking, then they're fighting each other and they're dropping dimes on each other, calling the cops, and they're fighting. Man, it was a very violent time to watch. And and seeing men fight women, it was very
really.
Oh yeah, man, it wasn't a thing to see. It wasn't like today that was unheard of where men fought women and women fought men. It was back then. If you, as a woman, you knew that if you did something to a man, he's willing to put his hands on you back then. So it was crazy, man. It was a crazy time. So I witnessed all this stuff, man. It was
and how old were you when this was going on? Like kind of age range?
I was at least, because I was able to see it and understand what was going on.
Yeah.
Really good, really clear. I had to be at least all from my childhood, from birth all the way up to probably 13, somewhere around there.
Oh wow! So your entire childhood into the beginning of your teenage years.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. 100%, man.
Wow.
Seen it all, brother. But that's all before we moved to North Carolina. And even when we moved to North Carolina, my mom followed, so it was some of the same stuff, but it wasn't as bad as it was in D.C.
Okay.
In D.C., it was just wild in D.C., man. And I had another aunt and uncle who lived up the street from me, and being I was the only kid, they had their 2 kids. So I was also a kid that my other aunts and uncles, they were still like in marriages. It wasn't,
okay.
connected.
Nice.
So I always had a little resentment to my cousins, or jealousy. Let's say that jealousy to my cousin. What resentment? Jealousy, because I never had what they had growing up. You know what I mean? I never had that nucleus of a family.
Yeah.
That
stable home.
I didn't have it. You know what I mean? When it came to Christmases or birthdays, they had, or any type of holidays, they really had something nice going on. Even a holiday for their own mom and dad, it was something nice. You know what I mean? So I never had that. So I used to love to go to spend the night with them, and then even me, I would try to take on some of their toys and take it to my house or whatever.
Yeah, nice.
I was like a little mini thief. Because I was poor, when I was poor in my side of it. And, like I said, my aunts, my grandmother and grandfather did the best they could for me, man, and try to raise me in that space. But they were still poor. But I had one aunt, she always tried to I actually had 2 aunts who always tried to be like, come and get me and give me that motherly type of figure, you know what I mean? And even buy me stuff for school.
Nice. Okay.
Clothes.
Awesome.
But I used to wear the same stuff to school every time, especially clothes wise, man. So it was a bad time, man. It was a really bad stuff, seeing all the drugs and stuff. But I used to buy that. My mom used to hide that stuff in little what's the thing people smoke, cigarette thing.
Yeah. Oh, the packs, the cigarette packs?
Packs, yeah.
Yeah.
I was very curious, you know what I mean?
Of course. What boy isn't?
Yeah. You hearing about all this, you knowing about all this stuff, everyone knows what's going on with your mom. I didn't know my dad because, at a time growing up in that time, I didn't know who my dad was, but also at the time I didn't really care. When I think about it, I was like, whatever, wasn't curious about that. But I did eventually sometimes started asking my mom, who is my dad? And I remember asking her 2 different times, and she kept giving me two different names, and that's when I realized she really doesn't know.
Doesn't know, yeah. So were you, the fact that you didn't know your dad and you haven't found out who he is today, right?
No, I actually finished right with my senior year of high school.
Oh,
My grandmother, yeah, funny story. My grandmother, I think it came up again, and my grandmother had an idea. She had an idea because I guess it was a rumor who he might be. So she reached out to somebody in D.C. We lived in North Carolina by this time. My grandmother moved me away from that area.
Good for her. Good for her. Good for her.
Oh, yeah. You know, she at some point she was like, we got to go. We got to get out of here. So we straight up moved out. Grandfather and everything, we all went down the south to North Carolina and all that stuff. And I hated it too, honestly, man. I was a loving city boy, right? I love the city.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready for this country life.
Yeah, it's a little different.
Yes, and I got like both worlds, you know what I mean? So and because the school I also went to in D.C., just to backtrack, I'm sorry, I forgot. The school I went to in D.C. was almost primarily white, not white, but primarily black, right? So that's all the school was primarily was. So that's what I grew up into, you know what I mean?
Sure, yeah.
Black, principal, black, all that stuff. And there was a different way of teaching, right? And what we learned was a little different too. We learned a lot about black history and all that stuff. Of course, anytime black history came along, it was deep in that stuff. But the teachers, they were brutes too, you know what I mean? They treated you like you was their child, like, you know, black teachers do sometimes. They act up, they whip you, they grab you, and then they tell your family or whatever. So it was a tough school, man. But you knew not to mess with certain teachers in there because they didn't play around with you. It was good, man. It was good. And then I think the funny story I tell people all the time, I could have sworn there was one white kid I remember coming who moved in, and it was at the school. And I think because he was like the only little white kid there, and then at some point he disappeared. It was like his parent was like, "Nah, we got to go. It was gone, bro. It was funny, man. That town was something. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So moved to North Carolina, total opposite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Country.
Wait, which part of North Carolina did you move to?
Man, my grandma moved me down to Salisbury, Cleveland. But like, you know, it was like 40 minutes north of Charlotte, and then there's like another 30 minutes once you get to Salisbury. 30 minutes from Salisbury into the country of Cleveland is where we was at.
Yeah, so that's out there.
Bro, it was out there. Out there. And I'm like, we stayed with her mom at the time, because her mom, which was my great-great-grandmother, was there. And I was getting bad, so that's why we moved down there, number one. And and that's when, as I was finishing high school, that's when my grandmother had that idea about who my dad might be. So she reached out to a lady in D.C. or Maryland, I forgot which part of Maryland, maybe Waldorf, I think it was.
Okay.
And they reached back, and the story was they had heard a story and rumor, right? I think it was the mom. I think it was the wife. Yeah, it was the wife. And they heard a rumor that her husband had slept with or had another kid with another woman, and he's older, much older now. Just so the viewers know, this man was way older. Okay.
Oh wow. Like
the sister that he had is 30. I was like 18. She was already in her 30s. So he was a much older gentleman, right? He had an older kid. So that just kind of goes to show you, what was going on around that time.
That's sketchy.
Mm-hmm. And there was a rumor about it, and apparently they heard about it, but they didn't investigate it. They just kind of let it go. They ain't stress it or whatever. Like most people probably would. They heard you had another kid, but the kid didn't come around. The mom didn't come around. They just shunned it, whatever. And when my grandmother reached out, they reached back, and then it was like a big excitement from their side, because my sister at the time, like I said, I was like 17, 18, and she was 31, 32. And she was excited to meet me, because I guess this rumor to them was an actual real rumor. They heard about it, but I guess nothing came out of it. So she wanted to meet me. So she drove down from D.C. To be down there in Charlotte with me in Cleveland in the country. We met in Salisbury. And she brought a picture of him. My sister had two daughters at that time, so I was an uncle, right? An unknown uncle.
Wow.
And she was just happy to see. I mean, she said I looked just like him in the picture, you know. And at that time, I forgot, even at that time, I had kids. You know, I won't go into that after this. But at that time, I had issues in high school as well. So anyway, she told me that my dad ended up dying from alcohol poisoning.
Wow. Okay.
So remember?
Yeah.
See,
Yep.
you're either in the drugs or alcohol.
Yep.
And apparently he was told by his doctor also to stop drinking because it's gonna kill him or whatever. And sure enough, he's still drinking, and he walked out in the middle of the street one day, I guess coming home from a fry house or whatever, and just passed out in the middle of the street and died right there.
Wow.
So never got to meet him, but you know, and from there that's how she loves me today. You know, we still talk.
Awesome.
Her kids are much grown now; they're in their 20s, and we talk all the time. Still, she loves the crap out of me. She was extremely happy to know she had a younger brother. That she didn't. She didn't have nothing at the time. She was the only child.
Okay.
So that was cool for her, man. And it was cool for me at the same time to now have a big sister, because I didn't have nothing big. I was the only child for a long time.
I bet that was cool.
Yeah, it was cool, you know, because I felt like I guess you could say I felt some pressure on me at the time before my younger siblings came, because I was so much older than them. I was like 12 years older than my brother and all that stuff. So, and there was some things going on with that. So he was born, I think he was born in D.C. or whatever. No, he was born in North Carolina, because when he was born, you know, his dad scooped him up and he was gone. That was the issue that was going on, you know, gone. You know what I mean? I think I was able to kind of be there with him a little bit here and there, but pretty much right when he was gone, born, a little after that, man, his dad took her. I think it was a court system type of thing. Because,
Gotcha. Okay.
In prison. So it wasn't nothing she could fight. He was gone, and we got to go see him here and there. But, you know, I do remember prior to him taking him and getting that custody of him, one of these days, my mom got out of prison. She tracked us down to North Carolina, and my grandmother was wanting me and her to have a life. You know what I mean? She wanted to see if we could build a relationship together. So she forced me to stay with her at times.
Okay.
Bought her a trailer and put it right across the street where we were living.
Okay.
We go over there and stay in the house with her, and it was because I think my grandmother felt guilty, you know, because my mom always made my grandmother feel like the reason we don't have a relationship is because of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So your grandmother was like, I want to try to fix this, even though your grandmother was really doing the right thing, taking care of you.
Yeah, she was, you know what I mean? And I think she really took that to heart, because she just kept hitting her with that guilt trip, you know, here and there. So at some point she just felt like, you know, let me see if I can make this work and, you know, give you your son and make me get your son to look at you in a different way or whatever. But it would never work, you know, because she was still in her thing. She was still in the streets, you know, be gone from, you know, 9 p.m. and I don't stay in until I'm gone, or she's coming in when I'm on my way out to school. You know what I mean? It was just a weird thing still. So I had a lot of, you know, honest hatred towards her.
Sure.
So I started going back and forth with my grandma's house, and she kept sending me back. But when my brother was there, I used to watch him too for long periods of time at nighttime. So I kind of grew up kind of fast at that, because I used to watch him, take care of him a little bit, and she would do whatever she could do with him. And then right before she puts him to bed or whatever, right after she puts him to bed, she's gone. You know what I mean? She's in the street.
So you're at what, age 12, watching your brother, caring for your brother all night while your mom's gone.
Yep, still doing those things, man. And if he woke up in the middle of the night, I basically took care of it. You know what I mean? Back then we had cell phones, so, you know, it was just the way it was. You know, you ain't get in touch with people back then. They left the house. If you don't know the house that they're in, to call them house to house, you ain't, which we didn't know where she was at. She'd be whoever house. So that happened for a long time, and then finally his dad got custody, and then he was gone.
Okay. Okay. Do you still stay in contact with him?
I mean, my brother tight, man. I mean,
Nice.
because I always tell him that, even today, because he's like 12 years younger than me, and I'll tell him his dad, I said, bro, I used to take care of you. You have no idea when you was a small little kid, small little baby. And we got pictures of me holding you all the time. I got the old Polaroids, back in the day in my little scrapbook. And we're close, really close. We're closer more me and him than I am to my sister. Because after him, then I had a sister. She was still doing her thing. And it's luckily though, I mean, I'll say to this day, luckily we knew what my son's dad was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was another older gentleman as well, older guy. You know what I mean? My sister though. Well, my brother, I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you. My brother, he's doing great. He lives here. He runs his old trucking company.
Nice.
He's really trying to do better with that, man. And I'm proud of him there. And the trucking business is hard. I do wish him the best with that. I hope he can really expand that and really do well. I know he's trying to, but it's a hard industry to really tap into and do well without having a bunch of trucks for yourself. So I think that's his goal, is to get a couple of trucks.
Nice. Yeah, he'll start making some good money with that for sure. Yeah. So I picked up on one thing that you want to talk about. I want to talk about something else, and then let's go into that thing. What was it like to move from DC to rural North Carolina, and what was school like?
Man, I hated the move, honestly, man. Because I was so in tune with the city life of, school and then, being around Black people at the time was a primarily thing. It was a big thing, especially back then. So I hope people watching this understand and see that, back in that time, in the 1900s period, America was a very raw time of segregation. There was a, black and white line, blacks hung out with blacks all the time, whites hung out with whites. And that's just how America was, especially as everything started to finally open up, from Martin Luther King, to, Malcolm X, to the Rodney King beating in the early 90s. All those things started to slowly open up a little bit and get better. But for the most part, the 1900s, even in the 90s, it was still, black and white thing. You know what I mean? So growing up at that time, I was all about, staying in D.C., staying with people. You know what I mean?
That's right.
That was the mindset. So the school was great. I loved going to the schools there because I was always around my people. I enjoyed Black history. When Black history came, Black schools really made it a serious thing. They made it a fun thing too. Learn about Black history, all about Black history, and it was fun. So when she took me from all of that to go to North Carolina, to the country, with cows, and they live in an acre of land, it smells like poop everywhere. It was primarily white. I'm like, what the hell is going on, and I was the new kid too, so I didn't get welcomed.
No.
No one do well. I got teased a lot and all that stuff because, again, I'm still poor, and a lot of my friends in that high school, they had their moms and dad and all that stuff, so there was and they all kind of knew each other already.
Sure. Yeah, especially in kind of like countryside communities like that. Yeah, everybody knows everybody. Just like in DC, right? Like in your block, in your area, like everybody knows everybody. So yeah, I bet that was really difficult to make that transition. And what an insane transition.
Oh yeah, it was, man. It was, like you said. I mean, you said it just like that in my block in DC. That's how we talked about it. It was the block. Your block, over here, blah blah, east, northeast side, whatever, southwest. So when I come down here, everyone else around me knows each other, and I'm just a new kid, and I'm, I'm dirty. I don't have the same look as them. The clothing is not up to speed like theirs are. So I'm the piece of crap. I'm the junk kid or whatever. So I didn't really make friends right away very easily there.
Yeah.
And in the acre of land, I mean, it was wild. You know what I mean? So I didn't like it. And I told my grandmother many times, can I go back and live with my aunt Sheila? She lived up in the Maryland area, and she really did a lot for me, man. Always really try to be there as that mom figure for me, man. And I always would say, man, Grandma, can I go and just stay with Aunt Sheila? I'll go to school around her and in her area too. A lot of Black people there, and I can walk to the school again like I was doing in DC. So, and people need to understand that DC is its own thing. And then you got Maryland right there. It's its own thing.
Yeah, exactly. If you're not in that area, like you don't know, like you cross the border, right? It's like different states.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And people don't realize that, right?
Huh?
Even though DC isn't considered an official state.
No, it's just
Its own state.
Yeah.
It's its own thing.
Yeah.
So I lived in DC, and then my aunt, she lived in Maryland. So I was trying to go back to Maryland, but grandma wouldn't let me. Grandma loved me too much. She was like, nope, you staying with me. Which I applaud grandma, man. Grandma was everything. Her health was bad too, because I mean, she struggled with diabetes.
Oh, wow.
Oh man, she had it all, bro. She had heart issues, high blood pressure. She had everything that the typical Black older families back then had, because we didn't know nothing about health. You know what I mean? So we ate fried stuff all the time. So, soul food was the food, and it was a high in sugar. But high blood pressure, diabetes was like, it ran rampant.
But it's damn good food.
It was damn good eating. Damn good eating. It tastes good, man.
Absolutely.
Every now and again, I'm like, man, I can't wait to get some of that, because my family still does big on Thanksgiving. So I will go up to DC or North Carolina or whatever and really, get some of that. But
Nice.
more in the upside down. I'm trying to live to be 100.
You and me both. Too much cool stuff to do in life to cut it short.
Huh?
I said there's too much cool stuff to do in life to cut it short.
Man, you know it, man. And you do a lot of traveling too, brother. I see you and your wife, y'all doing that. Y'all all over the country, all over the world. So when you say stuff like that, it really hits home to, especially for me now, because I'm in my own space that I'm out of the military, and I have the freedom of movement to travel around, right? I'm doing the nomad thing roughly. So when you say that kind of stuff, man, it hits me like, yes, because I'm trying to be as active as possible and see as much of this world, not just America, as much of the world, right? Because you and me are historians, right? We like history.
Yeah.
I want to walk Jerusalem. I want to walk, all that stuff. You know what I mean? Egypt. I want to walk and see the pyramids.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So all these things, that's why I'm all about health and all that stuff. But man, yeah, that's how it was, man. That transition to North Carolina, bro, it was struggling, and I didn't really like it as much, honestly. But I grew into it, I grew into it.
That was my next question. How you stayed there for a long time, and did you slowly transition into kind of the culture there, and were you starting to make friends, and was life getting better?
Yeah. It was getting much better when I started playing sports, right? Because I didn't play sports in DC. So it was, I didn't know I had a talent at the time, right? Because I didn't play sports in DC. So when I got to North Carolina, I started playing, I think the first one was football. Found out I'm super fast, super quick. And the coach had me be a running back at the time. And, on sports teams, you become like friends, close friends and family.
Yeah.
So one of the guys that was teasing me when I first got there, we were all becoming friends now.
Nice. The new guy hazing.
Yeah, we're all becoming friends now, because now I'm on the football team, and they like what my ability is. They're like, oh man, he's Jovon. Everybody call me Jovon. He's really fast. Coach had me at running back and pointing back as on defense. So it was a good thing, and I started to enjoy that, and that kind of helped me kind of get to know people better, and then my name changed a little bit from being just a piece of the stinky boy with his pour all the time to being some part of a cool group of guys in school there. So it's starting to change, and I started playing track as well. So all that stuff really started to open up with sports.
Oh, nice! You were doing track too.
I did that too, man. I forgot how I got involved in that one too. I think it was just the coaches, because the coaches on football, they were also part of the assistant coaches on track, so they wanted me to come over and play that as well.
What were you doing in track?
I played the hurdles. I ran.
Oh, nice. Ran hurdles. Okay.
Yeah, weird one too, right? Like, who knew? I'm a fast kid, but who knew I had the technique of it, because I was really good with the technique. Most guys, they come in and try to jump hurdles, and they run up to the hurdle. They just jump over with both feet. But my coach I had, he really got me to do the whole thing looking like an Olympian, like spread the legs and really just barely touch it and just come right over with your legs spread and all that stuff. Lead leg or the left leg back. I was smooth transitioning over that thing. So another skill came out of nowhere. And I took that to the point where I was winning, damn near winning state champions because of that. Because
nice.
I was that good with hurdles, man. It was crazy, and my grandmother couldn't come watch me play. None of my sports. She couldn't come because at this time,
because of her health
was bad, so I didn't have support from the family in that respect. You know what I mean? It was, obviously, because she was sick. My grandfather had passed by this time, so my grandmother was an amputee.
Oh wow!
From the left. Oh yeah, diabetes took her leg, man. Took her leg. She was an amputee from the left knee down, I believe. Wait a minute, right knee down.
Bro,
so,
that's like, it's just like one bad thing after another.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and that's the house I grew up in at that time too. So it was, and I didn't have that support, even though she loved the crap out of me. And grandma loved, she's tattooed here in my arm because that's the one I have the most respect for, and more than anything. She was my mom, even though I wasn't born through her, but I was born from her.
Yeah, I get it. And
so I never had the support of family to come and watch me play and cheer me on. So the school started to see that. I think the school and my coach started to understand a little bit, and they really started to be like that extra support system for me going up to school.
Awesome.
The teachers loved me, and they would come and support me at the school, and they would cheer me on, give me hugs and all that stuff. My coaches, same thing. They really try to be that extra piece for me, because I think they saw, and I know they saw that I didn't have that piece versus all my friends at school at the time. So they was really the support system for me growing up in that area when I got down to North Carolina and started playing sports and stuff. So that was good.
That's awesome. And every kid needs that support, right? As bad as things were, I'm happy to hear that, your grandfather was a great masculine man. Your grandmother was, a super nurturing woman. And so you really had that masculine and feminine role in your life to help kind of shape you. Even though things weren't going bad, like you still had that. And, when I look at some guys, especially some of the guys I work with, they just don't have any masculine role model. So that's awesome that you had that. It sounds like there's a kind of a pivotal moment in high school times where things were slowly getting a little better kind of under the surface, and you started realizing, your talents for sport and building, your confidence kind of started building, and then people were coming to support you. What were you kind of registering that at that time, or were you starting to feel better about yourself?
Yeah, honestly, I was. I mean, and I would say I would agree with you on that. There was a transition piece there where life started to change a little bit. Now, I was still getting thrusted in this situation with my mom because she kept going back and forth to prison as well. Even though she came down to North Carolina, it was still chaotic as I don't know what, with drugs. And my aunt was involved in that too. The youngest of all my siblings, not my siblings, my mom's siblings. So they will still be clashing. So both of them came down from D.C. to North Carolina, and it was always a thing. So I still had that pulling on me sometimes, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was still there. It didn't leave. It didn't go. And I developed these relationships with these other, my friends' parents as well. My best friend in high school, his mom and dad were in the church, pastors. And every now and again, I was able to go spend the night and stay with them. And his mom, and both of them, his mom and him, my best friend in high school, we still talk today, man. They still support me in all the stuff they see me go through today. And she sent me messages just talking about how she prays and all that stuff still. I mean, she's super proud of what I've accomplished in all those years from back then. And but those people were like really the huge nucleus for me, and some other friends, parents, they all pretty much trying to support me and just cheer me on and be there for me. And they would be the ones that would take me home because grandma couldn't always come pick me up from practice or school or whatever, or pick me up and take me so I can go and practice and all that stuff. So I had all those mixtures of support systems. Nice. This is going on with me at the time as well.
That's awesome. That's good. That's really good. Okay, cool, man. So you had started talking about something about a child.
Yeah, I was, cause it was going into after my son, not my son, like my brother. So when he was taken, then my mom had another kid, who was like, probably 3-4 years younger than my brother. So it was about 15 years younger than me. And this is my sister at the time. So she was born, and we went through a whole phase of like not knowing who her dad is. Well, it was crazy as I don't know what. And, she was born in DC. I can't remember why we was back in DC at this time. We kept going back and forth for a little something. We was in DC at this point, but she was born, and we had her for a while, for a little bit. And this is during a childhood. Again, I'm still living with my mom off and on. And that's when it really was getting crazy bad, right? Like as far as she was leaving, and I'm getting a little older now. I have more of a mouth, and I'm getting more overall the BS.
Yeah.
I'm like threatening her that I can't remember if I threatened her that I was gonna call the cops or whatever, but I was threatening her in some ways and just make sure try to let her know, listen, if you leave tonight, something's gonna happen or whatever, and leave me with this child. You know what I mean?
So you had your brother and this other child?
Oh yeah, man. I did both of them,
bro.
I did both of them, man. It got worse with my sister.
And how old were you when this is going on?
I don't know, like 15.
Holy shit.
Oh, yeah, 15, because my sister, she's about 15 years younger than me. Yeah, 15 still, yep. So, because my brother, he was like 12 years younger. Yeah, so, and then, yep. So that's right around, yep.
Going to school, playing football, running track, taking care of your brother and your sister at 15.
Yep. Getting into it with my mom, and now everyone at the high school knew, this is where everyone at the high school knew what my mom was doing, right? All my friends knew what she was into. There was some high school guys that was in the drug game.
Yeah.
Some of this stuff. So they all knew her as well. So it was really an internal negative for me emotionally, because now people my age know every details of what she's doing out in the street. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was very bad for me, emotionally, I guess you would say. I grew a place where I hated her.
Of course.
And it was bad because she be gone, and I know she was one of my high school, not friends, but high school associate that nigga. And she's at his house and they're doing whatever, you know what I mean? And
that's crazy.
It was crazy, man. And she was doing that. She was stealing money from my grandmother to get drugs, writing checks back then. Checkbook was a big thing back then.
Yeah.
So, and then you can go to these cheap little gas stations, not the major ones that you see today, but these little small gas stations. You can have a check that you forged, and they don't check that. I don't even think they had a way of checking it. They accept the check. Somebody gives them a check. It's signed. They accept it, and then it goes to somebody's bank account. That's how it was back then. So she would use that, and her and my mom getting arguments and all that stuff over. You took some money, blah 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 blah. And even money my grandmother gave me, or my aunt gave me, or somebody gave me, I wake up in the morning, that money's gone. My mother was very into everything. Anything she needed to get her stuff, she crossed you, and she'll tell you straight to her face, wasn't me. Like, where the money go then? I know I put this money into my pillow, I put it in my drawer.
Yeah. Dude, that is crazy.
And knowing that people knew about that, man, that was rough for me. And I used to try to, get my balls on hard and be like, yeah, I ain't standing for this no more. Had these big bad brass balls, and that shouldn't have worked, because I'd be like, if you leave today, I'm gonna threaten you with this. And then she'd be like, you're not leaving me with I'm like, you're not leaving me with my sister. You're gonna do something, you're either gonna take her, right? Thinking she would not take her. Take her and go with her. And then I wouldn't see him back in the house until 3 or 4 in the morning. I hear the door open. Like, I don't know what she did with this where she took and why she took this young girl out there with her. You know what I mean? It was just when someone's into drugs, man, they really don't see, what makes sense.
But they're just trying to get that next fix,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had an uncle. It wasn't that bad, but I had an uncle. He was a vet, took his own life, over drugs and alcohol. Man, it's no joke. It's no joke.
They don't know, man. They don't see, they don't understand right and wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think the drugs really, really takes a hold of people. And if you never dealt with that, like for anyone watching this, if you never dealt with that in your family, you got to understand that this stuff really does affect their way of thinking, their whole cognitive function, right from wrong. It's just like you said, they're trying to get the next fix.
Yep.
They don't care who they're crossing.
Yep.
If they don't take their kid with them out there and do whatever in the middle of the night for no reason at all, the kid needs to be at home in the bed or whatever, and you need to be at home with your child. So you're taking this child out till umpteen morning. And that happened many times. And at a time, my grandmother, this when it got to a, my grandmother, she knew we couldn't deal with this anymore. Because at the time, like I said, we don't know who her dad was. And I couldn't keep doing this. And my grandmother saw all of that. And then my grandmother was doing the same thing. Like, we're both watching this little girl. So I think my grandmother, eventually called social services to try to get them to get my mother corrected. And they came and they took my sister because they saw the situation was just rough. You know what I mean? They took her out of the home. And my mom, I think she blamed my grandmother for that, which she just doesn't know how to take accountability. But you were the reason this had to happen.
Yeah.
Because we keep doing this.
Yep.
I'm trying to go to school. I got all this stuff going on with sports and all this stuff. And my grandmother's in a wheelchair. She got her health issues going on, and you keep leaving this child with us, and we can't do this anymore. So she was in foster home she was taking it, went to foster home for a little bit.
Wow. Hey, Dave here with the Limitless Brave Show. I hope you've been enjoying the show as much as I have been enjoying making it for you. And I want to introduce our next guest. And this guest is doing some amazing stuff in the world. Please welcome Woobies. Now, I've recently partnered with this company because of their incredible mission. Their mission is to put a pair of Woobies on every homeless vet's feet. That's a huge mission, and it's one I can get behind. So guys, if you go and purchase a pair of Woobies, a homeless vet's gonna get a pair of shoes for free. And we need to help out our vets because they put their life on the line so that we can live in this incredible country. And so I was very curious about this company. I flew down to Dallas, Texas, where their headquarters is. I spent the day with the CEO, and let me tell you, these guys are on point. And not only that, it's a veteran-owned company. So it's veterans helping veterans. What an awesome mission. So these are the Mod 2s, and this is the high top version. They also make a low top version. These shoes can be worn on land and in the water. This is the official shoe of Naval Special Operations Dive School. Guys, if Special Operations is using this shoe, you can too. And so I took my Woobies to New York City recently, to Washington, D.C., and around Los Angeles. And let me tell you, they were comfortable right out of the box and something that I enjoyed wearing. They have a true paracord shoelace and a certified non-slip sole. So if you need a certified non-slip sole for your work, these are the shoes. And this is a canvas upper, and it breathes and dries really quick. So if you're in and out of the water, like I am when I'm diving, these things are awesome. They have a lot of different colorways for you to check out. So please go support their mission at woobies.com. Dude, I think about my life at that age, and circumstance dictates, kind of the way you're going to behave sometimes, but I couldn't imagine that at 15 years old. Like, I didn't know anything about the world at 15. And here you are, you've got your brother, your sister, your mom doing what she's doing. You're trying to be a good student. You're trying to be a great athlete. Couldn't imagine, brother. I could not imagine that. That's intense.
Yeah, it was wild, man. Yeah, we had some issues, that's for sure, growing up in that situation. But then, we was going to see her. My mom still have these issues with my grandmother now. She's blaming her for everything in the book. So
Yeah.
it was not only did my relationship with her get worse and worse because of all of it, but hers and my grandmother's got crazy because she just kept blaming her for everything. So it just turned out to be one of the worst situations to be in at the time. And again, she's still going back for the prison. It was just
Still, current day.
still currently going back for the prison about losing the trailer that my grandmother bought for. She lost that. So that, couldn't pay for that no more. Her and my aunt still fighting over drugs and all that stuff. It was, that fist fighting, like I say, fist fighting, man. She calls the cops on her, she leaves, and she gets arrested. It was, when you got two people that can only get along when it comes to they sharing the drugs or alcohol, and then when one ain't trying to give it to the other one, then they start fist fighting, and when one leaves the house, the other one's calling the cops, because both of them didn't have license at the time. People were driving dirty. It was a chaotic situation. So next thing you know, the cops knew the street that we lived on, so all this stuff was going on, so they knew exactly where to go get them.
Yep.
So
I guess
see my mom the next 2 days or whatever, we knew she was in prison. You know what I mean? So like, she's in jail. She'll be there for a couple months, not like 8, and then we'll see. We'll get her. She'll be back, and then it was almost immediate. When people got out of prison, that night they got to go hang out with the same dudes and same people that was with that got them there. It was crazy. Couldn't just sit your ass at home. You just got out of prison.
Yeah.
Just figure out a way to get your life together and just, start anew. And she used to write me letters too. That was the thing. She used to write me all these little letters saying all of this and all that. I'm a change. I didn't even want to read that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It will make me read it. Make me read this stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to read this crap. So she made me read it, and because it will always be the same thing.
Yeah, just like empty promises, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The promises all the time. So she come back home on the street.
Unbelievable. So you're 15. When did you finish high school? High school, like 17, 18, something like that?
Yeah, when I was 18.
Okay.
And I had my own. Some of that stuff also affected me, right? Because I started doing dumb stuff. I was getting a little bit of a trouble.
Right.
And then I even had my own kid in high school. So I haven't even graduated yet. Now I'm 17. Yep. I had my first son in high school. So it was just...
Really?
I started... Oh, yeah. Yep. Bad situation. It was crazy. And my grandmother, as much as she wanted to get on me negatively, she did. She honestly just said, well, we gotta do what we gotta do here. And that's when she started talking to me while I think I'm a junior at that time. She started talking to me already about a year ahead before I graduated as a senior. And he started thinking about the military and all that stuff. And she was like,
okay. So grandmom was instrumental in getting you into the military.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
100%. I hated it. Now remember again, right? What was the atmosphere of America in the 90s, right? We still, I'm still living in this world of black and white for the most part. Right?
Yep.
So my family, as my grandma was talking to me about the military, they hated the conversation of it. They were like, the number one phrase was, "You're not going into this white man's war or this white man's."
Really? Okay.
Yeah, that was the stigma of the atmosphere back then. Still, even in the 90s, right? It was like, nope, you're not doing it. You're not going into that white man's war or white man's military. And people got to understand that stems from my aunts and uncles, right? They were growing up during the time of segregation, all that stuff back then. So they really lived a life of that hatred and violence and all that.
Yeah. Like in the 50s and 60s, right?
Yeah. They could, they recall all that stuff. So they're emotionally still attached to that, that life. And even then, I can't remember the year that even the military was kind of desegregated. I think it was the late 60s or maybe early 70s. or let's go into this. It's either between the 50s and the 70s where the military was segregated, so people of color can try out for any job in the military at that point. Because at the point it was like you can only be cooks.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. During the time there was like you can only be cooks. I mean, then at some point they started allowing to be pilots and all that stuff. But man, it was a tough time in the military. You didn't look at being a black person in the military in the 1900s where you can actually do any job in the military like you can, of course, with some 2000 up.
Yeah.
But so that's where they came in that world of that. So in the 90s they still live in that emotionally, like, nope, trust white people ain't got your back. They ain't here for you. So when she started talking about that, she was like, no. I mean, not she, but all the other aunts and uncles was like, no, you're not that man's war because he's just
so
it fit me.
So what was it about your grandmother that was she having those biases as well, or did she see something greater than, what everybody else in the family was seeing, that like this would be a good path for you?
I say she did. I think she saw because she knew her health was getting bad, and she knew, one, I would be able to earn money with the military and still be able to take care of my child. So that was a big thing. And then two, the fact that her health was getting worse and worse, and she wanted to put me in a place where she thought it would be helpful for me to learn something, and hopefully I can use something in the military and transition it into the civilian world. I think that's because I wasn't getting any scholarships in sports, right? I was blowing off school and all that stuff, even when I was still playing.
Okay.
I had in school, but I wasn't doing good in school at all. So she was looking at what can we do to get you in a place where you can possibly grow and be better, and get out of the situation and move. Because she wanted me to get out of here. Yeah, she wanted me to get out of North Carolina, DC. She wanted me to get out there and get away from this situation. And I was like, smart. I hated it. I wasn't with it. You know what I mean? I was like,
I'm sure you weren't, but man, what a smart woman. She like the pattern, right? Like you were in Northeast. She's like, we got to get out of here, go to North Carolina. Things followed you there. She's like, you got to get out of here. Like just the progression of the way she's thinking to make your life better. What an incredible woman.
Oh man, I'm telling you. That's why I praise her and thank her every chance I get. And that's why I put her on my arm, because she had that forethought. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Think that, just getting me out of here, something will happen if I just get out of here. Something good will come out of this if I just get out of here and go do something else, get away from this area, and you'll be good. And honestly, I think that's probably why I'm still the way I am right now. Like, I don't really like to be back in North Carolina. You know what I mean? I want to still get away.
Yeah.
I think it's probably because she instilled that in me, just to get away. There's something else out there for you. And I think that in my mind all the time, that this is not where I'm supposed to be. I'm just visiting family now in North Carolina. And I don't want to think that I'm bashing North Carolina, but it's just not for me.
Yeah, totally.
North Dakota ain't for me. Right?
Yeah. Not for me either.
Yeah, that's not me. Especially after living in San Diego when I was stationed out there for so many years. So it's like, this ain't for me, but because people always ask, why you can't just stay in Charlotte? I can't stay in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm like, it's something about North Carolina and that's probably because grandma always wanted me to get out of here. Yeah. It was a good idea, man. It was a really good idea, even though everybody was against it. Grandma was still all for it. Even I was against it.
Well, it's led to some amazing places. I want to touch on your son coming into your life. It was your son, right?
Yeah.
I want to touch on that, and then I want to get into your military experience and some of the other things that you've done. So, you were 17 when you had your son, or 18?
It was 16, 17, bro. Somewhere around there.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah, it was somewhere around there, man. It was somewhere around there. I had him young and dumb.
What was that like when you found out? Were you just like freaking out? Like what was going on?
Oh man, it was I wasn't freaking out, honestly.
Okay.
I don't know why. And I want to say probably because I was already, I've already been in a position where I was helping to raise little kids anyway, my brother and my sister.
Makes total sense.
Yeah. I knew I would disappoint people. That bothered me. I knew I was going to disappoint my grandmother. I knew I was going to disappoint my aunt. Really was trying to like be that guiding fire for me to walk that line. And so that hurt a little bit for sure, because I didn't want to disappoint people who I knew were trying to have my back. And my grandmother especially, because, she already went through a lot with me and all this time. So that bothered me, but I was welcoming of having the kid. I wasn't thinking about abortion at all.
Okay.
But the mom, terrified. She was super terrified, of course, right?
Yeah.
Terrified at the time. And her mom convinced her at the time to go through with the abortion back then. And we all talked about it or whatever, and then it was one of those things where I finally gave in. It was like, all right, fine. If this is the best thing to do, let's do it, whatever. So I went to school, and my son's mom and her mom, they drove to Charlotte to have it all done. And when I got back, when I got out of school, because I wasn't with her physically. I think I called to see where she was at or how everything went. And she said they didn't do it. So she got there and said she just couldn't do it. Said, it was just too hard on her. She was crying a lot and she just didn't do it. And honestly, I was okay with it. I was okay with it. Not knowing, right? I'm a teenager having a kid. Got it right? Yeah. I'm okay with it. And knowing this is a problem. Having a kid when you're a kid is a big problem. But when I think about it today, I always tell that. That's not something anyone should ever do. Have a kid when you're in high school. Because then, especially when you think about going in the military, you're going to be away a lot.
Yeah.
And she did this on her own, and then we got visitation because we was no longer, dating anymore. So it just turned into a place where, back then it was not as much co-parenting was not a thing. Back then it was like, it was like fighting, for time. There was no belief in letting the child spend a certain amount of time, months at a time, with the dad as well, so the child can, get a piece of both worlds. So it was a lot of fighting, me trying to go to court to get more visitation. It was a bad time as well. So that was a struggle. But before I graduated, one thing I had in my mind is the kid added to a piece of me wanting to be better. If that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Right. That probably that provider protector instinct probably kicked in for you.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh man, I got this kid. I gotta be a better man, right?
Yeah, that kicked in. I had that, and I think that's what eventually converted me over with my grandmother a little bit more with accepting of the military. But because my mind was like, if I did get out of here and I could bring my kid, to visit here, and then see it'll be something I get my kid out of here as well. So I thought the kid turned into a big reason why I wanted to be better for me, for him actually.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Grandmother, number one. Grandmother was number one always for me because she was the one who took care and did everything. So she was a big inspiration for me. No matter what anyone says, I always tell people you got to have a big inspiration to do anything in this world, because if you don't, you'll start something and you won't finish it because it gets hard or tough or challenging or whatever. So she was number one. But my son was number two, right there, right behind her, because it's like, man, if I could do this, then my son will be proud and say, I got a dad who did this.
Yeah,
so it turned into a big reason why I really started to convert some stuff in. But it was a dark moment because I really thought I was going down now, because I'm like, I'm having more issues too now. I'm not going to be like my mom. I'm not going to be a statistic, right? I'm not going to be like that. So that definitely happened, but it eventually turned to me using that as a fire to grow.
Nice. Okay. Makes sense. And wow. Yeah. As if things weren't bad enough for you as a kid, then this on top. But is the catalyst for you to have like sounds like a pretty serious like wake up call, like, hey, I gotta be a better man.
Oh yeah. And that ain't the half of it, brother. Some more happened out of that too, man. It was
Wow.
I haven't told you yet. That's how I had my other kid.
What? Like Lord.
So before I even graduated, so I was messing around with this other girl. And before I graduated, she got pregnant. Before I graduated. So coming out of high school, now I'm a senior, right before I graduated, not right before, it was kind of like, November. Yeah, she was born in November. So basically another 7 months before I was supposed to graduate, I got another girl. She had another girl born. Was she born? Yeah, something like that. Born, whatever. In that November. And man, so now I got 2.
Wow.
And it's getting crazy. I was like, I'm like, man, you big dumbass. And now everyone's mad at me now at this time.
I'm sure they are.
Everyone's mad. I got 2 kids coming out now. I'm really about to be a statistic. I haven't even signed up for the military yet. I'm just like, oh man, I'm not even going to go now. And changes come up. And so I go ahead and I finally admitted to the military. I finally go ahead and sign up and do all that stuff. And my son's mom, she can't stand me now because I done messed around. I had another kid. And now I'm trying to work this out with this lady, this girl. So what I do was, when I joined the military, I go in square and everything. Because now I'm like, I finally committed. I'm like, all right, let's do this thing, right? Because I didn't do ROTC, none of that stuff in high school.
Oh, okay. Okay. Wow.
I didn't do that shit, no. And I was that my family was not a believer in the military. Like, nope.
Yep. Makes sense.
And I joined, and I think right after boot camp, I decided to marry my daughter's mom, because I had a girl now. So I say, you know what? I need to be with one of them physically every day. You know, I can't have 2 kids and be, traveling, doing the military thing and away from both. And one of them needs to be with me. So, and then I can be easier than just go get the other one. You know what I mean? That was my way of thinking. And so I marry her, coming right out of boot camp. And I'm now like 18, 19, marry her. I think my grandmother signed off on it. No, not my grandmother. One of her family members signed off on it, and we did that to court.
Okay.
And I'm just being stupid now. And it's like whatever. And so then she says, my ex-wife at that time, she wants to have another kid. Like she's young. She's only like a year older than me. She's just all about this kid stuff, right? So we have another kid. So now I got 3 kids, and I'm like,
wow.
Not even 21, I don't think.
Wow.
So that ain't half of it yet.
Oh my God, bro.
So my daughter's mom is very ghetto in my description, right? My opinion of it. Because her attitude back then was very just brass, Mm-hmm. She wanted, I think she felt I still had something in me towards my son's mom. So she wanted to break that out of me. So she used to always like try to pin me against my son's mom to make it a hard relationship. And one day we got into an argument and she let something slip. Now I'm divorcing her now because I just realized that she just caused a lot of drama in my life. I just couldn't deal with it. So she let something slip. And it was like, I heard it, but I didn't hear it. But I heard it, but it made me question. So when I come to get my kids to visit, right, I drive out to Charlotte where I'm at right now, and I go get a DNA test and find out the first kid was never mine in the first place.
Oh my
God.
So your son that you thought was your son was...
Oh, he's mine. He's mine.
Okay.
I'm the first one with my daughter's mom.
Oh, wow. So the daughter was not yours?
Nope. The first one was not mine. And she basically knew it. She knew she was messing around and she just didn't bring it up. But she wanted to have me have that second one with her to kind of lock it in.
Yeah.
And that's my daughter now. That's what I'm always with, currently now.
Okay.
That's my big. I'm sitting in her house right now while I'm visiting Charlotte. But it was crazy, and I never thought, because you see stuff like that on the Maury Povich show.
Yeah.
So that will really happen, that somebody would put on a child on someone that was not theirs. And they knew that child was not theirs. A woman. I didn't think a woman would ever do that. And, I didn't even think I would ever meet a woman that had the balls to do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's kind of harsh.
That is super harsh.
I mean, it's evil in a way. You know what I mean? Why would you put on a child to a dad that's not his, and then have the child believe that and the dad believe that, and then when the child real dad is over here, so you just blew him off. It's like, oh, you just messed up 3 wives. You know what I mean? Absolutely. So I never thought that would be, and it turned out to be, and then and I found that out, it was crazy. By that time, it was like, man, this is wild now. So the first child I had with you was never even mine, but you wanted me to have that second one because you knew the first one about it. I made that eventually find out the truth. And so that was nuts, and it was crazy. But so that's, me finally learning and coming out of that.
Okay.
It was piece of that drama with court and everything.
Yeah.
The court and changing child support. It was, that was some heavy stuff, man, before I really started to convert and really hit my stride and really declined a little bit,
So that was, you kind of like finalized all that kind of drama after boot camp, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you were kind of set up at that point to start your stride, like you said, or your trajectory to greatness from that point onward.
Yeah, that's when things really started to work out, because it was bad during that time, man. I mean, I kidnapped my son. I was so emotionally attached to that stuff because my son's mom wouldn't let me see him for a lot of time, so I kidnapped him, took him all the way out of North Carolina, brought him all the way to Mississippi. She called the cops, the sheriff. She kept me.
Oh my God.
I had all these people knocking on my door. I mean, it was one of those, it would be the statistic that the cycle of life that I grew up into. I was just going to keep adding to it and just convert it over to my dream.
Yep.
And that's when I realized I had to take a step back and look at these things and be like, okay, wait a minute. There isn't going to be a good co-parenting situation. This is how it's going to be. I'm not going to be allowed to get that much time with my son as I would love to. And if I keep this emotional craziness going on right now about all this stuff that's going on around me, then I'm going to end up losing everything that I could possibly get. So I told myself I got to detach emotionally from some of this stuff and just let it be and just let it play out and just go with the flow on it. And that's what I ended up doing eventually and focus more on me. And when it came to my kids, I just, when I was supposed to get them, I just got them at that time and took them back and, just let it be out as it was. I just started letting it go.
Okay. Bro, I'm tired already. I can't imagine. I can't imagine what you were going through. Oh my God.
I had that drama, man. I had that drama.
Yeah.
Then I finally turned it around a little bit.
Okay. Dave here with the Limitless Brave Show. And gentlemen, this one's for you. Are you struggling with your dating life or maybe your relationships? Possibly the marriage is on the rocks. Maybe you're having a difficult time making money. What about your health? Is that good or is it in poor repair? And maybe you've tried everything you know how to do to climb that corporate ladder, but you're still not getting anywhere. Or if you're finished with the corporate world, you've been hesitant on starting that new business. Or maybe you just do not feel confident taking on one of the most unique roles we have as men, and that is being the protector, Guys, for the past 15 years as my full-time career, I've been coaching men all over the world on those topics and how to rise above everything that's holding them back to get that amazing dream life. I've been helping men understand the art of living masculine for a very long time, and I would love to help you. I have a very simple, nurturing, zero to hero philosophy when it comes to working with me. It's not anything difficult. It's not anything hard. It's not abusive. It's just common knowledge that I love to share with men to get their minds switched on in the right direction so that they can go out and live an amazing life that every man should. If you want to know more about this, check me out at limitlessbrave.com, get signed up to my email list, and we'll be in touch. Do you feel that the military was instrumental in making that switch like really, really solidly?
Yeah, because it got me away from here, number one. Because if I would have stayed here, I would have been I could have easily been in the cycle of some of the drama that was going on out here. And I would have never been where I am today if I would have stayed here. And that's a fact, and no one can ever tell me anything different. If I would have stayed here, it would have been the same thing. I would have been, doing what my friends who graduated high school, just just a regular job possibly, and hopefully get into a manager of that position or whatever, or worse. That's the best case scenario if I would have been here. Worst case scenario, I could have been just still on the street, having more kids, being a terrible dad, and just being stupid and starting to drink and getting everything else. And, because to me, that's what was coming out of this area.
Yeah. So you really broke your kind of generational curse, right? On your family was like going through, it was like generational, and you kind of broke that. You're like, look, I gotta do something different here.
1,000%. And I always told myself I wanted to be that person. And like I said, when my son came and my grandmother, those are the first two pieces. I was like, I gotta mentally, my mind, I gotta do better. But I still had made a mistake, and I had the other kid and all that other stuff. So I was still in the drama space, but at my mind, I was like, I gotta do something better for these two. And then when I had my daughter, of course, once I knew I had my real daughter, at the house I'm staying with right now, I was like, that's when I'm like, now I got a daughter, now I got a little girl. I want also to show her dad is the best. Her dad got shit, her dad can do things. So the military aided every bit of that, because if I would have been here, none of that would have happened. I'd have been just a regular dude or worse.
Yeah, or worse, right? Yeah. So you go to boot camp, you're in the military. Did you have is like a 4-year contract to start out, or how did you get in and involved?
5-year contract.
5-year?
5-year contract initially. And I didn't have the Navy SEAL contract. I came in on a contract was a search and rescue swim contract. That was my contract.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Hell yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie to you. I have no idea how I knew how to swim with it. The recruiter, when he finally convinced me, and my grandma, and I convinced myself that I'll do it, he asked me, am I an athlete? Well, I'm an athlete. He knew I was playing football and track and all that stuff, and I was state champion and all that. And he was like, can you swim? Me. I'm like, yeah, I can swim. You're like, I can hold. I don't know what the hell that you eat. Water. I ain't scared of water. And not like I ever had swimming lessons or anything like that. So that was not the thing. All right. They ain't swimming pools in Washington, D.C. So
nope.
It's just those things where I'm like, I can smell, whatever. Because I just was unafraid of water. I think most people who can't swim, the biggest issue is they're just afraid of water. You can just say, I'm not afraid of water. Just throw me in there. I mean, I've seen how people do it. I can do that. I can move my arm to tread water, So I like that. So he signed me up for that. And I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. So that's when that was the contract I came in on initially.
Okay. And so what was that training like? Were you like, oh shit, I bit off way more than I could chew?
Initially I did.
Yeah.
I did from boot camp. The boot camp was in Chicago, and then they sent me down to Pensacola, Florida, for the school for this whole thing. And the first part of it is called air crew school, and you got to learn about air crew, the whole pilot type of thing. You just learn about what life is like on a Navy ship on the top deck, right? Because I guess in ship life, there's two different categories of people. You either work on the top or you work inside underneath. So air crew works on the top, on the flight deck, and everybody else, their community works underneath. So I had to learn about, the rules and regulations and what it's like working on the top of a ship, on the flight deck or whatever. But the school, we started doing stuff in the water, right? It wasn't much swimming, but it was just doing like survival training in the water. Like,
Okay.
Dunker, you just got to understand how to hold your breath a little bit. And, had a parachute. No, I wasn't doing that at school. But yeah, it was more physical stuff that we were doing and learning about the top half of a ship, more so than swimming. And I dominated it, straight dominated. I graduated that school because we had Marines in that class as well. That was like I think it was a 2-month class. So we had Marines, because Marines are also considered, some Marines are also considered aircrew people as well. But Marines had this big thing about them being the fittest when they compare themselves to the Navy. Fastest wings or whatever.
Yep.
But I'm coming out of high school and I was a top athlete, So all the physical stuff came very easy to me. And I graduated that portion of class as the undergraduate top of my class.
Nice, man.
Cool, you know what I mean? And, that especially having Marines mad because you beat the Navy guy, beat the Marines out. So it was cool. So I got an award for that. So that was pretty slick.
Nice.
So I think I'm doing good, They're like, okay, all right. So from the aircrew piece, now I go to the rescue swimmer course, right? So now they're giving me wetsuits and fins and dive gear and all this stuff. I mean, this is really blowing my mind now. I'm like, well, okay, all right, this is wild shit here, all right? Ocean, all that stuff, and they none of this stuff. So that's when we really started doing swimming stuff, and it was kicking my ass. I mean, I was dying, trying to swim and swimming these laps in the pool. They got another one where you got to drag somebody. It's like, you ever seen the movie when Kevin Costner? I think he was a Coast Guard guy.
I think I know what you're talking about.
The Guardian.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the stuff they showed in that movie of their selection, or when they were trying to be a certified Coast Guard person, the test they were doing in the pool, we basically did the same thing, almost identical, because you're a search and rescue swimmer just for the Navy, not the Coast Guard. So you're swimming with a snorkel in your mouth. I'm trying to learn how to breathe from a snorkel. Like, all this stuff is brand new to me. I'm like, what the hell? I'm struggling and breathing in my nose. I can't figure this out. So, I mean, it was the hardest school ever for me physically, because most of the school was geared to the water, and I'm not that guy. And I passed, luckily. Definitely wasn't passing as the undergraduate in that one. But I passed, man, and then now I feel like I'm something, right? Because I made it through probably the first major challenge that I've ever really faced physically, right? Because that school was very challenging for me, because I'm not a water person at all. And I never learned how to swim. So I'm fighting the water. I'm not a smooth person in the water at all. So when you put me in the water, I'm like slapping it for the most part, But I was able to hold on, pass the swim test, and graduate. And then I went to a school where I got to learn the job of what we doing, which was supposedly sitting in the helicopter looking for spy submarines. And if something happened, like if there was an emergency SOS, a ship is sinking somewhere, even a civilian ship, and they needed somebody to come, I'm the rescue swimmer as well. I have my wetsuit gear on underneath my flight suit. Take out the flight suit like Superman. I just put on my snorkel and mask and jump in the water and go rescue them, and that's how the job is supposed to be. But that's when it started going down again. I got over there, and the Navy gave us some freedoms, a little bit more. Then those freedoms came with me being a dumbass. I mean, I'm hanging out, partying in Pensacola by myself, just not showing up to class. I mean, I'm drinking now a little bit.
Oh.
And I'm not supposed to be because I'm young.
Yep.
Dumb shit. And then I end up getting kicked out of that program. So that was an eye opener, right? I get kicked out of that program. It's like shit. I had to turn everything back in. I get slapped in the head, basically. Another surprise. Damn it. Embarrassment, right?
Yeah.
Huge embarrassment. Now I got to turn in all the flight suits, all the brand new wetsuits and all that shit that they gave me when I graduated SAR school, turn it all back in. I'm no longer a part of the aviation force of the Navy, right? They took all that away from me. And they gave me these options they gave me two options. I can be a CB in the Navy, which was like an engineering field.
Yep.
Or something else, which is like you work at the bottom of the ship. Now, remember I said there's communities on the ship?
Yeah.
People work on the top. Well, now you're part of the crew that works deep down in the bottom of the ship. And they was giving me the option to work underneath the ship down at the bottom. I was like, don't know about that. And the CB thing, the person at the office was like, I think this would be good for you. Like, all right, whatever, I don't know. I messed up now, so I just got to take whatever they give me. And that's what it was. They gave me, what people really wasn't selecting for the most part.
Yeah.
And I'm a guy. I didn't really care much about engineering, honestly. So I did it, CB, and they shipped me out to Texas now. Now I'm going with the walk of shame. Now I had all this thing that was going for me. I was inspired. My grandmother I was going to make happy and all that stuff. And, my kids now, all the stuff I was thinking about. Lost all of it. So now I'm sulking a little bit. Now I'm down in the dirt a little bit and mad at the Navy. Not taking my own accountability a little bit.
Yeah.
So went through that and then I became a CB.
Okay. And what were you doing with the CBs?
I was a UT. UT to CBs is a utilities man, so I did a lot of plumbing, heating, and air conditioning.
Okay.
Funny thing, when I get to the schoolhouse for the CB school, I learned the CBs, it is an umbrella. And underneath the umbrella, there's different jobs in the CB, organization. So it was UT, which is plumber and HVAC, electrician, construction electrician, steel worker, builder, who does cement or puts the walls, all that stuff. There's like two other ones. I can't remember right off the top of my head, but. And I was kind of like, when I got there, now I'm more pissed off because I wish I would have the option of knowing what they had all these other jobs in the CB community. I would have chose something else. But no, they made me be a plumber. Well, now I'm got to be the guy digging holes in pipes, doing all this, digging holes in pipes, digging holes in the ground.
Yeah, putting pipes.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I'm actually using shovels now. I'm like slave driving outside, you know what I mean? So I wasn't happy then again. So I'm mad at the Navy.
I'm sure you were, man. You go from a prestigious search and rescue swimmer to doing plumbing. Yeah, that's a hit to the morale for sure.
That check, bro. That check. And everything we did when it came to plumbing, we had to do it the worst way. We didn't use the backhoes to dig the holes, the trenches to put the pipe. We got to use manual labor. So we're out there swinging pickaxes, shoveling.
Oh my God.
What all the construction workers on the streets of the world, they use all the machines to do all this stuff. Why are we doing this by hand?
Yeah.
That's the way we did it. So I'm mad again. I'm like, man, it was, so I didn't go into that really well neither. You know what I mean? So I didn't go into that well, but I survived it. And one day there was something. Oh yeah, one day I got a chance to work with the CB, the SEALs. And that's
so up until the point where you met the SEALs, did you have any idea that the SEALs existed?
Funny thing, before I even joined the Navy, I remember in DC watching the Navy SEAL Charlie Sheen, like the first Navy SEAL movie.
Yeah.
Charlie Sheen style, Yep. I think it was called U.S. Navy SEALs.
Yes, yeah, it was.
I remember playing that in the backyard, sneaking through people's backyards, acting like we're Navy SEALs, seeing if we can get through before the automatic light would turn on.
Nice.
We could sneak through and see if the automatic sensor would catch us. But when I joined the Navy, it never dawned. Never dawned on me at all. Nope. Never thought about it. Never even realized it. It never came to a head that, hey man, the movie I saw, I might be able to, try out for it. But it never dawned on me until I actually got a chance to work with them. That was it.
Okay, so you were working as a CB, plumber, HVAC, doing your thing, and you get to work with the SEALs. And this is like your first encounter with them in real life. What was going on?
There was they needed in the beginning of the war, they needed engineers to help run the camps where they were out doing work at, because they'd be out there. So, they needed their own base personal thing for just the SEALs. So because I was a plumber, I was able to help supply water to the showers and set up like that. And then HVAC, so I was able to help set up their heating and AC for the tents, because we were living in tents back then.
Okay. And so is this the beginning of GWAT?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. And guys, if you don't know what GWAT is, it's Global War on Terror. So, yeah. Yep. Okay. So you were there at the beginning, doing this stuff.
Yep. So we was out there, Wild Wild West style, and everything was like I said, we lived in tents, man. It was rainy, muddy, nasty. We set up everything. Even some of the SEALs, they would help too, because when we first got there, I was attached to the SEAL team. So it was me and 2 other CBs. So you had to be very good at your job to be an independent worker, because they're not taking the whole CB battalion to help set this up. They take 1 or 2 CBs with a SEAL platoon, and you 2 CBs pretty much stand it out. You got to be able to do everything. So
wow.
You get it on, keep there, man, and thank God we was able to do everything right and got everything running well. We got the power from the generators running so they can do intel gathering, so we can figure out what targets are and all that stuff. And
so were you setting up the fobs for the SEAL?
Yeah.
For the SEALs?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what you were doing. Okay, wow, okay.
Yeah, and for people watching, FAB is Forward Operating Base.
Yep.
So that's where we was at, at Fallujah, right there in Fallujah, and man, it was a crazy time. It was a crazy time, and we just manned everything. All electricity, all water, AC, we did it all, and I really grew a relationship with those guys, and then so good, and they looked at me and they respected me so well that they even allowed me to be a driver on some of the missions during that time.
No shit. Wow.
You know what I mean? They trusted me that way. They trusted me that way. They can have more guys going into a house or whatever.
Yep.
But I'm out there with them. And if something goes down, I'm fucking driving this truck right through where we got to get the boys, So it was awesome. It was awesome to be out there with those guys. And that's what it hit me like, man, this is what I want to do right here. This is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So they helped me a lot. I learned a lot out there and developed a lot of good relationships with the boss of the SEALs back then and all that stuff like that. And they looked at me as someone they would like to have my personality and character on their SEAL team. So I changed, and this is when stuff really started to climb for me now.
Nice.
We had a long summer deployment out there. Got a lot of bad guys that year. I don't think we lost anyone from the SEAL team not platoon. Let me say that platoon. Because I think the SEAL team is just one platoon. The SEAL team, just so people understand, is a makeup of about 6 to 9 platoons. And each platoon is about anywhere back then, especially, it was very small back then, 15 to 18 SEALs. And then you had 1 or 2 CBs. And then you had 2 admin people. When I say admin people, some people who was good with intel, helping the SEALs gather intel. That we all was in that 20 guys. We were very independent to ourselves in any part of the world. So when that whole entire SEAL team deployed, that 6 to 9 platoons, they would deploy different locations. They would never really be together. So that 1 platoon I was with, it was by ourselves in Fallujah, Iraq. So about 20 of us or so. So we're by ourselves in that location, and we're doing, operations from there. And we're solo independent, you know what I mean?
Wow.
All that stuff together, make it all happen. So that's how it went down.
Wow. So that's how you got to meet them, and then you were doing some driving. So you did it work like you finished your contract with the CBs and then you went to selection for SEALs?
No. I didn't even finish my contract with the CBs. I got back from deployment and I asked my boss of the CBs at the time if he wouldn't mind me applying. And they were happy with the idea of it. They just hated losing me because at that time I was starting to come into my own. I was starting to take ownership of being a CB. I was okay with it, especially working with the SEALs. I was like, oh. So I started taking responsibility for stuff. I started volunteering for more work to do this and that and the other or whatever. So they really was liking who I was and my being able to do things independently on my own. Because at that time now I had got an understanding of how to do everything. Do a little bit of electrical work, do a little bit of builder work. I can do pretty much everything outside of just the UT side, the plumbing side. So I was able to do it all. And I was able to drive anything, you know what I mean? It didn't matter, forklifts, big trucks, big rigs. So they opted to let me go and apply. And, I applied and tried out and it went from there, man. And it was an awesome time. You know what I mean? It changed. But what people don't know, it's what I don't really tell most people in person because they just never ask. The first time I went, I personally rung out.
Really?
Yep.
Really? Wow.
Yep. I rung out. I rung out in Hell Week.
Wow.
So
okay.
I do my motivational speaking engagements. I try to tell people about quitting, right? I try to let people know we all have those I guess thoughts, quitting, whatever comes challenging at us. And I personally have a great story of quitting something, and I could have lost the chance of ever doing it again. Right? Sometimes people quit. You can try to go back or apply or go to school again or whatever. But in the SEAL team, SEAL program, BUDS stands for Basic Underwater SEAL Training, Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL Training. That if you quit, there's not a chance that you can come back and do it again. So I almost gave up the dream of becoming a SEAL. Well, actually, I did give it up, right? Honestly, I let a moment of weakness cloud my goal, cloud my reason why, and almost let it all go, let it all fade away. So I got to a point where on Tuesday morning, and just so people who don't know what Hell Week is a portion of training where it starts on, and my light keeps falling, starts on Sunday night, and it goes till, starts on Sunday night, and it goes till Friday morning. And you only get roughly around 4 hours of sleep the entire week. You get I think 2 hours, really not sleep, you're napping. 2 hours napping, I think on Wednesday, and you get another 2 hours on Thursday, something like that. Or it's Tuesday and Wednesday. So it's nonstop, right? You barely eat food. They barely give you water, right? The whole idea of it is to put you in a state of mind where you are broken, done. Mentally you want to give up, to see what you're going to do, see what you're really made of, to see if you can stop and think and then still push forward and know that you can get through this, because in combat, that's what you have to do. You got to be there. There's no quitting. There's no running scared. There's no running away. You got to be willing to sit there and fight it out, even when it looks like you're not going to win, even when it looks like you may die or your partner may die or one of your brothers may die in the SEAL teams. You got to still be there and work through it all. So that's the idea of what Hell Week's about. And Tuesday, I got to a point where it was right after we ate too, midnight. And I let something slip into my mind, right? I could see across the harbor of San Diego from Coronado to downtown San Diego. And I could see the Navy ships, the lights of the ships at nighttime. Because like I said, it was 1 in the morning or something like that. And in my mind, I started to justify an excuse to leave and say that at least I can say I tried out. You know what I mean? And just say, oh, that's good. I came here, I gave it a shot. How many people can say they tried out, right? And I think that's what a lot of people go into it and just thinking to themselves, how many people say, at least I gave it a shot and try it and see, now I can go off and do something else. And I started to justify that excuse and just make it something like it's okay. It's okay to just go ahead and let them walk away. I can go there back and be a regular CB and be totally fine. I say I serve my country. And I proved that and say yes to my head and say, yeah, okay, yeah, you're right. I could go back here and do that. That's fine. And the moment I rung that,
wow,
instantly regretted it. Wasn't wet. I didn't quit in the middle of getting beat at all. I quit right after we ate. It's all got in my head. I just let it play out of my head. I just told myself I can't do this. This is enough. It's hard enough for me.
So that's really interesting, and it goes to prove, and I talk about this a lot because I have a story around this as well. Our mind fabricating stories, and we start to believe them even though they're not true.
Yep.
And so you fabricated that story like, it's okay. It's okay if I quit because at least I tried. And that's not acceptable in the SEAL world, in any special operations, right? It's to the end, right? And so the second you rung that bell, what did you do?
Immediately, I just regretted the whole idea of it. And basically, they tell you to get in the truck and they drive you back to the barracks, and you got to clean out the barracks and everything like that. So when you're going through that whole thing, now I'm taking everything off. The class I was with is running off with the bolts on their heads. I'm already regretting the fact that I'm seeing this happen. Like, that was just stupid. Nothing was wrong with me. I just got finished eating. I just allowed this weakness to come into my mind and tell me I wasn't good enough. And I accepted the idea of that and say, you know what, I'm going to do something else, and it's totally fine. It's okay. Give this up. Give this dream up. Let the dream go. So when I got back, I was already embarrassed again. Here I am embarrassed again because the CBs who approved me, they lost a man, right? Because when they approve you to go and try out for any special forces program, they don't get a person to replace me, right? So they're down to a shorter person.
Okay.
So they don't get that. Because generally I would have had to do my time with that CB unit, right? And then when it's time for me to leave or get out, then they get another person to replace me. But when you opt to go and try out for special forces right away, they don't get nobody to fill your shoes until your time is really technically almost over, and then somebody else comes in. So they lost a man for, and they believed I can do it. Everybody believed I could do it. Everybody had my back, from the SEALs that I met to my coworkers in the CBs. Everyone was like, oh, Q got this. He has the mind for this. This is what he's supposed to do anyway. I think everyone saw that in me, period. They just like, this is where he's supposed to be at. And when I quit, man, it was hard for me, man. It was hurt. Mentally, I was broken. But I was broken for like a couple of days. I knew that didn't drown on me because I wanted to go back. And I started the process of already trying to figure out how can I break normal protocol and get back sooner than what the protocol normally is. And they do allow you to come back, which is 2 years. You have to wait 2 years before they allow you to come back.
Okay, nice. I love the creative thinking, like right away. You're like, this is the standard. How can I weasel my way back in and cut that time in half? I love it, man.
And I was trying to do everything I could. I was talking to whoever I could, and I was apologizing to everyone who said yes to let me go and try this out, because I knew that it was going to be down in person. So then they sent me back to the CBs. Luckily, right, if I didn't have a job in the Navy, then they would have sent me and did what I did when they sent me to the CBs in the first place, to the school. They would have put me to whatever the Navy needs and maybe do that job. But luckily, I had the CB job already as my title, so they just sent me back to the CBs. So I go back, and I'm really like I said, I'm just trying to figure out a way to, skirt the system and get back and blah, 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 blah. So finally get my application sent up the pipe. It came back declined. So I'm like, fuck, like shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like shit. So I talked to another big dog in the SEAL teams, who had a lot of big reputation. He'd been around, been around a long time.
Do we know who this person is? Can we talk about?
Yeah,
Can we?
His name was Master Chief Culpepper.
Okay. Okay.
Master Chief Culpepper at the time. I had two Master Chiefs that I really loved in the SEAL teams. One was Master Chief Bowles, Bowes, and then the Master Chief. He was the first one who approved me to go through Master Chief Bowles. So I apologized to him like crazy when I quit. But the second one, who was like the guy in charge at that time, was Master Chief Culpepper, and he gave me some shit, of course.
Sure, sure.
But he saw my scores, my physical scores, and he saw that I had spent some time already with the teams, and I had some letters from the SEALs, I think, and that I showed as well, to show that, hey man, these SEALs even have my back. They want me on here, right? They believe I can do this. And he actually made a call for me. He made a phone call to the big dogs in Tennessee, because I think the big officers in Tennessee, the people who actually approve me, they don't see you in person. The people who will say yes or no, or the people who live working out of state, and they just see you're just a number, right? They see a figure.
Yeah.
You quit once. They're like, he quit once. Nope. So he called them directly, and he put in a good word, and like a week later, came back approved. I was like, shit. Now I really got some weight on me now.
Yeah, you do. There's no stopping at this point.
I done made the calls, I done hit the dots, I done pushed the people, and now they got it done for me, you know. So I'm like, oh hell. So get ready to go back. And my grandmother at the time, because the first time I went through, she didn't want me to do that shit. Because the reason why we went Navy in the beginning, that's why I guess the backstory is, she didn't want me to go in the Marines and the Army, because she felt those will put me in more danger.
Yeah.
Prep courses.
Right.
Yep. So she like, the Army, Marines, nope, we're going to put you in the Navy or the Air Force. So she was the one to convince me in the Navy, because she wanted me to be safe, technically, right? So when I told her I was being a SEAL and gave her the idea what the SEALs does, and she was like, hell no, boy, you ain't doing that. You don't need to do that, blah, 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 blah. So she was not with it at all. And then when I quit the first time, her answer was, see, that's all good. Now you just go back and doing something regular. She was happy that I was that shit. And then when I told her I was going back and I got approved, she was like, boy, I don't know why you going that. I don't know why you doing that. I don't know why you going back into that. You need to just go ahead and do what you're supposed to do and just get out. That was a clear sign that that's not for you. She was trying to use that as the way to get me not to do that shit.
Yeah. But you had that. It sounds like you had, at this point, you were like, man, I got this burning desire to do this, and I'm going to do it.
I did, and because I knew where I come from, and anyone that I grew up in, anyone that knew me growing up, there is not one person that can say they've done something like this. This was like, to us, my environment growing up, you know, the next best thing is being a professional athlete, honestly. You know, so being a Navy SEAL is right up there, right? So if I can do this, something that's completely out of my wheelhouse, something out of my life cycle of training and sports and activities, all that stuff, it would be huge for one, my grandmother and my kids, right? Because they were always the forefront of making them happy, you know, making them show that I can be something more. And then all my friends, families who were there supporting me growing up in high school, all of them would be there, be like, man, he did this.
Yeah,
only people I'm from has ever even met a Navy SEAL. Nobody, right? So I can be that difference. What we talked about, right? Change that stigma. Disciple people who grew up in my life and be something more. So I was that burnt. That was the major thing that I wanted to do this. I got to be more, to include, right? I wanted to have something directly affect the war, right? I really wanted to be that. But the inspiration and the why was to be something greater than what I grew up in.
Yeah, exactly, man. Like I love how your mindset is shifting to like really show up for yourself and for your family now, and just like go to this place that, like you're saying, nobody's ever been in the family.
Yep. And I did it, man. And then I got approved. I went back in. Funny thing is, I get right back to hell we could get. Same thing happens. Coming out on Tuesday morning, 1 a.m., just got finished eating, and we just got the bolts back on our head. And the same doubt comes back in. I could see the lights again. I mean, the same scenario. It was like meant to be like a purpose of life for me to be in that same exact situation. See that, thoughts came back in my head again, I'm tired, and we got the boat in our head, boat's heavy, and I'm like, we're about to start running, and my mind is like, hey man, you can go back over there, man, and you sit and dip and you try. I mean, at the end of the day, you didn't quit before Hell Week.
Yeah.
You quit in the worst part of training. You quit during the worst part of training. Who can knock you for that, right? Who can knock you for that? Nobody else.
Wow, man. Yeah, the mind. Oh my God.
The mind hit me again, man. We started to run, and right when we started to run, I kid you not, it was like, just as we started to move with the boat in the head, it was like, oh, just walk out from underneath this boat and go ring out. And the thing that got me was I thought about everyone I would let down again. My grandmother and my kids. And I didn't want to let them down. Of course, grandma didn't want me to do it anyway, but I knew how proud she would be if I finished this and became something bigger and greater, right? And my kids, even though they were young, they would understand later how big this was.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So I just kept running, and I broke through that barrier, that wall again that came up to try to stop me from achieving something important to me. And I pushed through that wall and got through it. It still sucked the rest of the way because, I mean, we're only on Tuesday morning, right? So it's still that Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday morning we're finally done. And then I finally came out of the program on Thursday, though. Thursday, we were doing medical checks. So we're standing stripped down.
Yep.
So doctors can look at you shoulder to shoulder, and they want to check on you and see, because now we're running in that line where, you know, you can really be hurt or you could die because somebody got hurt following you or whatever. Yep. You're so delirious and tired at this time. So, you know, asking everybody's questions, flashlight on you, he's looking at you up and down. Are you okay? You hurt? You know, where you at right now? They're asking you questions. And I was like, man, my stomach hurt. Do you have any like Pepto-Bismol or something to help calm down my stomach? That's all I'm thinking of, right? And he had me sit on the ground, and he sat me on the ground, and he pressed on my stomach while I was on my back, and I just went crazy pain, like bawling pain when he pressed on my stomach. And I was like, what the was that? And he was like, you. And he called the other medic to go get the ambulance, and they were sending me to the hospital. I was like, whoa. You know, I'm tripping out. Man. Like, whoa, wait a minute. I got like less than 24 hours to go, and I graduated this shit. No, this is not ending. So I'm fighting, but not none of the instructors are around. Not run. So I can't get an instructor's attention to like tell these people, leave me alone. Let me just put my clothes back on and finish this out. Yeah. Because if I get pulled out, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm afraid of that, right? I'm really afraid of that. And couldn't get no instructor. You know, all the other guys in my class, they took off. They got to go put their clothes back on. And they kept me in the medical space over there. I couldn't leave. And then finally the ambulance pulled up, and they give me an ambulance, and they drive me over to across the street to the Naval Hospital. And I'm like, getting me to the hospital, man, they put all this shit on me, sticking me full of needles and all that stuff. And I'm trying to get on the phone, if I can call back and say, I did not quit. So I'm laying in bed, all this stuff on me, and I get to finally get an instructor on the phone. No, but it was before I got instructed on the phone. The doc comes in. He's like, we had to pull you out of training because your kidneys were shutting down. The pain you were feeling in your stomach because your body was breaking down. Your muscles break down internally, and it was just poisoning me, and your kidneys were shutting down, and you could die. And I'm like, F, you know what I mean? Like, man, I'm just less than a few hours to go to finish this, man. So I'm there. He walks out, I'm on the phone trying to figure this out. Finally got an instructor, and he's like, is this Quarles? And I was like, yes, I did not quit. And he was like, oh, don't worry, the doc told us about you. Don't worry, man, just get some rest, heal up, and come back. He said that because before I got him on the phone, I started crying because I really was thinking I was done.
Yeah.
Dream was over.
Yeah.
When I finally got him on the phone, I cleared my eyes a little bit, started talking to him straight, and he said, don't worry about it, heal up, and come back. And when he said that, I held the phone, and man, I passed out, and I was gone. I was lights out. Weight was off of me, and I was good to go. I went to sleep and woke up the next day in a wheelchair, took me back, Friday around lunchtime. They had already secured Friday around 9 a.m. So I got back in a wheelchair on around lunchtime because I couldn't walk. All my extremities started to swell, everything. Face, neck, hands, feet, everything was just jacked up. Legs, because it was like when you finally stop, your body now wants to heal itself, but heal itself, flames up, everything.
Exactly.
So I didn't know what the hell was going on. I'm like tripping. It rolling me around in the wheelchair. I'm like, damn. So I roll in and see my classmates, they all on the floor, passed out. All of them on the floor shaking, right? Hands like this. Nobody was sleeping comfortably, like curled up like a ball. They were all on their backs, just jackhammer in their sleep. Because the strain, the stress, and your nervous system, everything is like, resetting.
Yeah.
And found out one of the instructors, they said, the next week, if you just stick with your class, because that weekend you stay at the schoolhouse because medical is going to check you all weekend. And then that Monday through Friday, the following week, he says, you can stick with your class, then we'll let you stay in. So hopefully you heal up enough that week that you can stick in and you can stay with your class. So luckily I healed up enough that I was able to, push through it, still in pain. And guys kept having to get pulled out too after that following week because their bodies just didn't heal up all the way. They didn't get kicked out of the program. They just put them in a holding status until the next class got to their location when they came out for their health, and then they just rolled back into the next class. But guys are still coming out, man, because their body just didn't heal up right away, and you were still just like traumatized. I mean, there were stress fractures you found out a week later. You just jacked up a week later from that whole thing. So luckily I was able to heal up enough that I was able to continue going through. And then by the time Bud was all done, we graduated Buds, and I graduated as top of my class.
Really?
Graduated top of my class. I graduated as the first black man to ever graduate Buds as the honor graduate.
Congratulations, brother. That is awesome. Wow. Dude, like you've been like through the ringer in so many different ways. And I couldn't imagine, I've seen a lot about how week's like, but I couldn't imagine doing it. And to have you get that close to the end and have that happen, the level of frustration had to have been just immense, like just unbelievable. Because if you would get medically rolled back and have to do it again, right? If you couldn't continue on.
If the instructors liked you, they'll roll you back medically, because a lot of people in a way, if you just wasn't part of what they saw as a top performer, or even, and when I say top performer, it doesn't mean you need to be passing everything or be at the top of everything. I still felt everything at least one time. I struggled the entire time through the program. But if you're just someone that every instructor saw you as someone that was gutting it out, you may have been the weakest swimmer, the slowest runner, the worst at drown proofing, all these different things, but you was just a guy who had the attitude. You're not complaining. You're not going to medical every other morning saying, hey, can I get this for this, that, and the other. It just seemed like the personality type that we wanted. And if you got hurt, they will allow you to be in a holding status. But if you wasn't that guy and you got hurt,
see ya. Wow. Man, that's incredible. I'm so happy that you were able to be in the hold instead of getting rolled back or kicked out, and you were able to graduate with your class, right? There's a lot of the stuff that I've read and seen. It's like when you can't graduate with your class. You guys have been together, bonding together, doing all this hard stuff together, and when you can't graduate with your class, I mean that's a gut check, and that's painful too, And
when they pull you out or for whatever reason, and you see your class continue on, and you're still in this holding status for months, because generally that holding status lasts about 4 months or so, because you got to wait till the next classes up, and then they go through their portion until they get to where you came out, and then you jump in. But you'll be in there, and you're sitting at the Bud. Nobody wants to stay at Bud's longer than you have to. You don't want to be there longer, because basically you're getting tortured by the instructors. You're at the whim of the instructor staff. So
yep.
You're there longer, you're going to be doing their shit work. You're going to be cleaning up the office. And if they see you, they can drop you. They can tell you to go get wet and sandy. They make your life hell while you're sitting there waiting. So you don't want to be there longer.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I'm getting a better picture of like how that all works now. Yeah, sounds like you definitely don't want to be there any longer than you have to. All right, so you finish Buds. You are now a SEAL.
No.
Not yet?
No. So SEAL is a year-long process. So there's a 6 months, you have to do that first.
Yep.
And then you go to the second half, which is another 6 months, which is called SQT. Hopefully it's still the same name now.
Okay.
SQT stands for SEAL Qualification Training. Now you're actually learning the job a little bit, to the nuts-ass basic, version of it. So that's another 6 months. Now you're still a piece of shit because they're still gonna beat you and talk shit to you the entire time. But now you're at least putting on some kit, your body armor, you run around with night vision, you learn how to shoot, you learn how to do explosive, you learn how to dive a little bit more, but you ain't shit. So the instructor staff still beat the crap out of you. So that's another 6 months and you're traveling all over the place. I mean, you go to Kodiak, Alaska, and you go to another portion of California, and you do a lot of training everywhere else, and you're also on San Clemente Island.
Okay.
And that's a tough training as well. And that time, and you also learn skydiving as well.
Nice.
You graduate.
Yeah, I've been out to Paris and San Diego jumping myself, and jumped with some of you guys. It's awesome.
Yep. And Paris, that's before you graduate the training too. Yep. That's when you do that.
Yeah.
And you learn it all with kit on, everything. So you learn the job, and they try to identify, okay, who's good at this, navigating, explosives, shooting, all these different types of things. You got to learn how to be a thinking shooter. So go through that program, as tough as it is, but it's still fun at times, but it's still hard as shit because you're doing stuff at the worst way. They make it worse.
Yeah.
And we get to the very end of that training, and the night before we graduate, I get a call from the instructor staff. And he's like, hey, why'd you get fired? Because I got fired during that part. Because now, when I graduated Buds, I was my class leader. Because all the other guys who outranked me in my class, they kept quitting. So then they came to me. So before the time I graduated Buds, I was a class leader as well. So when I got to SQT, I was still the class leader. But I got fired midway through SQT, because one of the other guys who was, neck and neck rank-wise, who was at the same rank, he took the test to be a higher rank, and he passed it, and they gave him the rank while we was in training. So by default, they made him the class leader now. Because he got rank. So right before we graduated, they called me like, why'd you get fired? I was like, because the other guy, he, took the test for to make the next rank, and he did. He outranked me now, so they made him the class leader. It's like nothing bad. I didn't get fired for that. I did something stupid. He's like, oh, okay. And he was like, I need you to make a speech. I was like, a speech for what? He's like, because you're the class honor man again. I was like, oh shit. So I graduated both portions as the top of my class again. So that was cool.
So SQT, you were honor as well.
Yep.
Damn, bro, that's awesome.
I was honor man in that one. And that was the hardest one for me, outside of Hell Week, honestly, because during SQT, like almost right in the beginning of it, my grandmother passes away.
Oh, man.
So now I have to make a decision, come out of class to go and be there for funeral and all that stuff, or put the head down and go right through it. So she passes away. I get a call from, Red Cross and all that stuff. And they say, the whole thing, you want to go home, you can go home and do all that stuff. But I knew once I go home, I'm missing training, so you already know what you're going to be at hold status again. And my grandmother would not want me to be in a hold status. She would want me to just finish this thing out and knock this thing out. So I opted to stay and finish. And my aunt Jackie calls the SEAL compound, or the Buds compound, the training compound. And she's like, he can't stay. He has to come home because she made me her beneficiary. I had no idea. So now I'm like, oh shit. I mean, my grandmother had 9 kids, you know what I mean? She made me a beneficiary. So I had to go home to sign everything, see the body first and all that stuff. So it was crazy now at this point. Cause I'm like, wow, I had no idea my grandmother did that. You know, that she chose me to be that. Out of her kids, she chose her grandson to take care of all her stuff. So now I have to leave. And I'm like, shit. So I'm thinking I'll, lose my class and all that stuff. And so I talked to the instructor staff, and they was like, just see how much you miss out on. We'll talk about this when you get back. So I go home, I do everything with the body. I see all of that, and we do the whole funeral. And it was right around, the funny thing was, it was right around my birthday on August 14th.
Okay.
So we do all this around my birthday. It's crazy. But my family made it a good thing. They made it like a birthday party at the end. We had cake, celebration, all that stuff. So it was a very good passing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She just didn't get to see me graduate as the honor man. You know what I mean? That hurt for sure. But to me, in my heart, I've always felt she knew and she saw that, personally. So
yeah, man, she had a special love for you for sure, and a belief for you that has led to something obviously incredible.
Yeah, it went well. It went well, man. And she took care of me, and I dedicated a lot to her. So when I did that speech, a lot of people showed up, to see me get up there on the podium and speak in front of all these people. And that was the first time I really got to do like a public thing, and seeing me up there with all this drama and all this craziness. Almost lost this dream of becoming a SEAL, lost my grandmother, part of my inspiration of why I became the SEAL, and all this craziness. And here I am graduating, the first ever to graduate both trainings, top of his class, and the first one to graduate Buzz, Black person, top of his class. So it was a huge thing for me, man. And, and had the support of, my family that showed up to see me graduate.
Yeah.
I speak in front of admirals, all these people dressed in their uniform, their whites, and, it was a beautiful thing, man. So it was a huge thing for me, huge.
Yeah, clearly, man. That's just, dude, fantastic. Just incredible story. So real quick before we wrap this up, there's so much more that we can talk about, and I would love to do an in-person interview with you, moving from now, once you become a SEAL into the future. But we'll do that in person. I think that will be incredible. From this point on, right, you finish SQT, you honor man, you're high on life, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
From what you've learned from childhood to now, what kind of advice could you give young men at this point when they're struggling, when life's going against them, when clearly the hand is being played against them? What kind of tips or advice could you give young men today, and just men in general, not even young men?
Everything I do now when it comes to my speaking engagements is really geared towards the young men and women out there, because I see a habit, a bad habit that we're seeing trending in our youth, which is that, we want the easiest route to get certain things, and you want things to just pop in your life or fall in your hands, or you assume that you just owe this thing. And I think we're losing the strength behind men and women who believe this and follow this idea that this is how it's supposed to be. And I try to tell people, you all, we have the ability to change our own futures, right? And it will be harder based off of who you are and where you come from, right? Because you didn't have the ability to choose who you were born to. So the circumstance you were born into, you have no ability to change that, but you have the ability to change where you end your life. And the fact that you can do it really depends on how bad you really want it, which is your why and what is inspiring you to be that. If you really want something bad enough and you have a big why and a reason and inspiration, do that thing. And you're going to run into some walls. You're going to run into a lot of challenges. It's going to be hard as hell, because anything that's worth having is not going to be easy. It's never meant to be easy. You can't be the champion of anything unless you go through a hell. You can't be a doctor unless you go through hell. You can't be a sailor unless you can't be a successful entrepreneur unless you go through hell. You got to go through these things, and you got to pay what I say is dues to get these things. And I'm telling you, if you stick to it, if you stick to whatever that thing is, there's so much more on the other side of that accomplishment when you finally get it. And then you can see you have another level that you go climb and get to another tipping piece and break through another barrier and have more people. And your vision grows more and more and more as you keep just hitting these little, check boxes. So stay the course, go through the process. The process is going to be hard. Know it's going to be hard going into it, but finish it. Don't go in there and don't allow your mind to play tricks on you and tell you that it's okay to do something else. Don't bounce around this world of trying to do this and do that and always changing your path because something's getting hard. Like, oh, okay, I'll go do that. It almost happened to me. When I quit. And then the same thing came with the second time around when I wanted to quit again. I started to think it's okay to do something else, but don't do that. Don't let your mind tell you it's okay to quit. Go through it and just, break down that comfort zone you have. And you can achieve anything in this world. I'm telling you can. I'm an example, but there are so many others out there that was worse than my example.
Yep.
But these people watching this, they probably live in something worse. And even if you're not living anything bad, if you did come from a good home or whatever, and you see yourself going through challenges today, use it to push you through the next thing. Not everyone comes through struggle like that, but I would say everyone has some sort of a struggle that they're dealing with personally, period. Whether you had a good mom and dad or you still got some kind of struggle going on that you've had to deal with. So use whatever you need to as to inspire you to be great, because at the end of the day, why would you want to die? You wasn't at your max potential, or you at least didn't strive to hit your max potential. Hit it, or at least try to hit it. It'd be a lot more fun living life when you do.
Yep, absolutely, man. Don't ring the bell. Do not ring the bell.
So don't ring the bell.
Yep, don't ring the bell.
Don't ring the bell.
Love it, man. I always say, when opportunity comes to us and we don't take the opportunity, the second time around, if it presents itself to us, we're going to pay a higher emotional toll, physical toll, or financial toll to access that opportunity again. And you are a living example of that by ringing the bell, not taking the opportunity the first time, paying a mental toll, a physical toll, much worse the second time. And so, brother, it has been an absolute pleasure. I can't wait to do a part 2 with you. Hopefully we can get that done in person, because I really want to dig into your military life deeper, what kind of work you were doing, whatever we can talk about, and share the lessons learned in that for entrepreneurs, for guys who are out there struggling. So far, this has just been mind-blowingly awesome. I'm so stoked that we were able to do this, and totally look forward to part 2.
Let's do it, brother. Anytime, man. I got your back, bro. Anytime.
Awesome, brother. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.